So good morning everybody. Let's discuss the hallwach and lenard experiment. So it is comprising of a vacuum tube over here. In the vacuum tube there are emitter and collector, and this is a source of light. Photons are emitted on this and electrons are emitted from the metal. We have connected this vacuum tube to a source of variable voltage through rheostat, and we have connected an emitter over here, which is a micro emitter basically. And this entire system is to make sure that we can vary the voltage and the various parameters concerned with the experiments. So there were certain results of this experimental setup which we are going to study. In all the results there is assumption that photoelectric effects takes place. So the constraints of energy, frequency and wavelength are satisfied. After that we got the results. The first result is that photocurrent under above conditions is directly proportional to the intensity, which is very obvious thing because intensity corresponds to the number of photons. So more the number of photons, more will be the number of photoelectrons, and it's gonna increase proportionally. Then we have another graph which is of intensity versus photocurrent. Current versus voltage. So you can see that at 0 voltage there is a finite current, obviously because electrons are being driven from energy of the light source. So that's why at 0 voltage there is a circulation of electrons. Now if we increase voltage, then photocurrent increases up to a certain limit and then it becomes saturated, which is called the saturation current, which depends only on intensity but independent of frequency of light. This point should be remembered. Now if we reverse the voltage, then photocurrent decreases until it becomes 0 at a certain negative voltage, which we call as the stopping potential, which is independent of intensity but dependent on frequency. And in this case we assume that the change in frequency is within 5% error, because intensity in general is also dependent on frequency. But in this case we assume that there is a variation of frequency within error limits of 5%. So we can assume that frequency practically remains the same, and it is the intensity or the number of photons which changes. So this graph is drawn under these conditions.